So you find out you failed your inspection. I'm going to give you a couple of good pointers on some things that are just so simple and that just get on everybody's nerves when they fail an inspection, when it's something so simple as this. And a lot of times it's just some basic stuff that it's a miscommunication between people. Now, the first one we're going to talk about is the miscommunication that can occur between the electrical contractor and the mechanical contractor, and sometimes the builder. So I want you just to kind of watch over some of these videos and learn a little bit from each one. And I hope these help you out. So let's get started on this very first one. And that's got something to do with just some information that's plainly written as it can be. And it's just a shame that an inspector turns it down for this. But I guarantee you, having been doing this for a long time, you will get turned down and you will fail your final residential building inspection for this. So just sit back and watch a little bit and let's learn. Now this placard is required by the code to be placed on all HVAC equipment. And this is on my outdoor condenser on this house. I want you to just kind of look it over a little bit. We're going to have some more details. We're going to be looking at this one a little more in depth in a few minutes. But if you can see it, it's going to tell you on this that the maximum overcurrent protection device, the maximum breaker size, is going to be 25 amps. 25 amp. Everything else concerning this installation of this unit looks pretty darn good to me. So now let's go inside and check that house panel and see what size overcurrent protection device we got for this condensing unit. Breaker, which is oversized for our unit. So we got an issue here, and if it's most inspectors are going to turn this thing down. Now I also don't like the fact that the only way they mark this panel is they used a Sharpie. I'm not a big fan of Sharpies. You know as well as I do, it'll fade, especially on the outside. But you've got a panel schedule in these panels, and you need to use them. Now what we're going to have here is we're going to have a big old fat red tag. You're going to fail this inspection, boys, every time. And it's something so simple, and it just gets frustrating that you turn these things down for this, but they will be turned down because it's very critical that we have the proper size overcurrent protection device per the manufacturer's installation guide and label that's on the equipment. And again, so many times residential final inspections get turned down for this one simple item. So now let's go to the code book and see what we have. It is so important that you understand the information on the equipment and what's listed on these nameplates. It's essential to the proper evaluation of the air conditioning equipment or the heat pump. This understanding simplifies the selection of the correct branch circuit conductor sizes, the type and rating of the overcurrent protection device, and the size of the disconnecting means. To find most of the necessary information you need, all you got to do is look on the nameplate rating. Air conditioning and heat pump equipment typically have a hermetic motor compressor and are not treated the same as conventional electric motors. This is where we have a problem. Electricians are thinking conventional electric motors, they're trying to size up when they don't need to. The hermetic motor operates in a refrigerant type environment and does not have a horsepower or full load current rating such as a standard motor. Special terms are used to provide the necessary information to install wiring properly for this type of equipment. I know I'm beating this point up over everybody's head, but still we've got to look at this. We've got to see what the minimum circuit ampacity is also on this equipment, because this again is where a lot of electricians kind of, it doesn't make sense to them at first until it's really explained. So the value that's required to select the minimum branch circuit conductor size and switch ratings for the HVAC unit has to be determined. And to determine the minimum supply circuit ampacity on the nameplate, the manufacturer will use a formula, what you got here, RLA times 1.25. The RLA is based on the compressor load, while the other loads would be such things as the fan motor loads, etc. The code generally limits the overcurrent protection of a 12 gauge to 20 amp unless it's otherwise permitted. Remember that, unless otherwise permitted. That's very specific in the code. So 240.4G And the table at 240.4G permit air conditioning equipment conductors to be protected in accordance with Part 3 and Part 4 of Article 440. This is how we get the ampacity and get the wire size. So to review, we look at the nameplate rating, and that gives us what our maximum breaker or fuse size. Now that's something else we need to talk about. We may have some equipment sometimes that says fuse only. So you have to look very closely. The inspector is going to look at this, and they're going to check what the equipment has and what's been supplied, and it's going to be a thumbs up or thumbs down type situation, and that's it. Now this is an extreme example, but it can happen. I mean, these things can burn up. And the thing is, we want the breaker to do its job. It's supposed to trip the circuit, right? And if we just got something that's overrated, it's not going to work. Now, hey, if it says 25 amp breaker and you put a 20 amp breaker, hey, that's fine. That's fine. I wouldn't go below it, but don't go over. I mean, it's going to fail every time. And don't let your inspection, all that work, be for nothing. All those delays, all that money that it's going to cost, all that time it costs for something so simple as matching up the actual breaker size with what's on the nameplate rating. So that concludes this video. We've got a whole host of other videos. I ask you to go to the site and look over them. There's quite a few there for you to learn from. Please like, subscribe. We need to go over all this with you as much as we can, and let's try to avoid unnecessary failed inspections on the site. And that saves everybody time and money and a little bit of aggravation.